50 years ago this week, Jim Whittaker climbed a mountain and came down a hero. He became the first American to reach the summit of Mount Everest. He is now 84 years old, but as Chip Reid shows us, he's still living on the edge.
It was a grueling 3-month, 185-mile trek uphill that allowed Jim Whittaker to make history.
Do you remember how you felt that moment when you stepped onto the top of Mount Everest?
There was no feeling of exhilaration, no feeling of, boy, we pulled it off. I was just a frail human being. We were just hanging on to life.
One member of his team died on the way up. Whittaker spent only 20 minutes on the summit.
Were you scared?
Yeah, fear is a good thing to have. You have to be afraid of heights or you're going to kill yourself. But that's the fun of it in climbing. You overcome that.
He returned to a ticker tape parade and an invitation to the White House, where President Kennedy called him a national hero. When JFK was assassinated a few months later, his younger brother Bobby asked Whittaker to help him climb Mount Kennedy in Canada.
And I said, yeah, does he know the mountain's never been climbed? He said, yes. And has he ever climbed before? And no. So I said, okay, we'll take him, you know.
Along the way, Whittaker and Kennedy became close friends, though Kennedy cared more for the companionship than the climb.
I like to be with those who like to climb mountains, but I think it's for them, not for me.
He walked up, stood on the top, first human being on the peak named after his brother. Man, that's where the tears freeze on your parka. It was so emotional. I loved him like a brother.
Whittaker served as a pallbearer at Senator Kennedy's funeral just 3 years after their historic hike.
I always get out and walk. I love to walk.
Now, a half-century later, Whittaker is 84 years old with 2 artificial knees, but he celebrated his birthday last year by hiking to the Everest Base Camp.
How much of a hike did you do?
Yeah, well, I only walked 40 miles.
Only walked 40 miles?
Well, but it was high. That's the difficulty.
You're being a little modest, though. At age 83, you hiked 40 miles at high elevation. That's pretty good.
You got to keep moving, right?
Whittaker has climbed mountains all over the world. He also reached the summit of the business world, ascending from employee to CEO over a 25-year career at adventure outfitter REI.
Yeah, that came off the highest point of Earth.
He keeps a piece of the mountain on his finger and still has the ice axe that got him to the summit.
That was my first major peak that I climbed.
From his home near Seattle, he can see the Olympic Mountains, where his life of adventure began as a teenager.
What do you say to kids today who seem to spend most of their time indoors before a computer screen or a video game?
Get off your butt, you know, they've got to get outside. Nature's the best teacher, you know. You've got to enjoy it before you check out, right?
This summer, Whittaker plans to follow his own advice, hiking in as many national parks as time will allow. For CBS This Morning, Chip Reid, Port Townsend, Washington.
Wow. What a great story about friendship first,
yes,
and the joy of being outside and meeting challenges.
And Charlie, he makes 84 guys look good. He does. He makes it look good. Can't wait.
A very inspiring story, and thanks to Chip Reid for that great story. Love it.
That was nice.